6-10, and we ain't smell the playoffs. Then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs.
Who else could it be? For me, you're me, Louie T. Welcome to NFC Wildcard Overtime. Seahawks, Cowboys, good playoff game. Outcome that I expected. I am now 2 for 2 in my playoff predictions. Gave you the Colts earlier, gave you the Cowboys tonight. And this game went exactly the way I thought it was going to go. Minus the big plays by Seattle. I didn't think the Cowboys would give up as many big plays, especially the one late to lock it, to keep this interesting after taking the 10-point lead. I thought the game would end 24-14, but that's nor here nor there. Cowboys are able to recover that lousy onside kick to wrap this thing up at 24-22. This game went exactly as it was supposed to go. The Seahawks were too one-dimensional coming into this game. Now, the one thing that they did do well, they dominated this season running the football, and it got them to 10-6 and got them into the postseason. But make no mistake about it, I knew the Cowboys were going to stop the run. I talked about that on the prediction and keys to victory video. And I essentially told you why I thought the Cowboys would win this game, because they're too good defensively to allow the Seahawks to do the one thing that they want to do. And that was going to take away the play-action fake ability of Russell Wilson to drive the football down the field. I also thought that they would do a good job of keeping Russell Wilson in the pocket. And for the most part, they did that as well, except for that one possession where Wilson was able to use his legs and a couple of read option keepers and get into the end zone. They did a really good job of keeping him in the pocket. And you saw what the game plan was early on, which was, hey, we're going to spy him with one of our linebackers, whether it's Jalen Smith or Leighton Vander Esch. We're going to spy this guy. We're not going to allow him to extend plays with his legs. And really, up front, the Cowboys are very athletic, even down to their defensive tackle, Antoine Woods, who's 330 or 40 pounds, yet he's uber athletic as a D tackle as well. So they can move around, and Russell Wilson really didn't have a lot of space to maneuver outside of the pocket, which kept the Seahawks from making a bunch of big plays. But despite all of that, they still had their fair share of big plays in this game. And so we'll get to Seattle and what they did right, what they did wrong, what they weren't able to do, what they were able to do in this game a little bit later on. But first, I want to take a look at the keys to the game that I gave you in the prediction video. And usually for me, when I give you these keys, these are things that I've picked up on throughout the course of the year that I think they have to be able to do or have happened throughout the course of the game to win. And earlier you saw in the first game, the Texans didn't stick to those keys to the game, and the Colts did, and the Colts got the victory. Let's take a look at the keys to the game for these two teams I gave you before the game took place. And you start with Seattle, pound game and dangerous. Russell Wilson. They needed the pound game to work. That's what they do. That's all they do, okay? Everything that Seattle does offensively predicates off of first being able to run the football. Well, they weren't able to run the football in this game. Their leading rusher in tonight's game was their rookie running back, Rashard Penny, with like 20-some-odd yards on just 4 carries. And of those 20, let's call it 29 yards or so, 20 came on one run, okay? And that was the biggest run the Seahawks had in this game. So the pound game wasn't available, and I knew it wasn't going to be available. That's why I didn't think they had a chance to win this game. And off of that, Russell Wilson wasn't dangerous because they weren't able to run the football. But he still made some plays that kept them competitive in this football game. Man, is he good. I don't think they allow him to throw it enough. Not tonight, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Second key to victory, unlock it. He was outstanding in this game. Had a big return, kickoff return right before half. Unfortunately, it didn't lead to points. It should have, but Seabass couldn't make the field goal, and he injured himself, so that was a double whammy right before the half. But not only was he outstanding on special teams with that return, he was exceptional in the receiving game. I remember early in the season, in the offseason actually, when the Seahawks gave him the extension, and a lot of people were questioning the Seahawks. I said, are you guys crazy? Obviously, you don't watch enough Seattle Seahawks football because this guy is an outstanding football player. Not only is he a great receiver, he's a tremendous special teams asset as well. He was both tonight. I expected him to be a big fixture in this game. He was. And one of the few reasons they even had a shot in this game was because of Tyler Lockett's play, making plays at receiver and as a return man. Make the game dirty, but O-line stay clean. They tried to muck up the game, but they didn't do a good enough job. They didn't run the football effectively. DJ Fluker picked up a stupid personal foul penalty. They tried to muck up the game, but the Cowboys just wouldn't allow it. They're too good defensively. They're too fast. And the offensive line, unfortunately, on a late drive, really cost them. And I said they had to stay clean. And for the vast majority of the game, they stayed pretty clean. Up until that point, they had one penalty for 5 yards. And then they had the one drive after the KJ Wright interception where they just unraveled offensively. And it was the O-line. And I figured at some point they would show their ass, and they did. You had a holding penalty, a senseless holding penalty on Justin Britt. You got help from the tight end on that play. Nick Van Nett, before catching the football, was actually blocking Wilson, the linebacker. And all he had to do was come over and just bust him up. And instead, he allows Wilson to get outside of him and hog-ties him for a stupid holding penalty that negated a 9-yard gain to start off a drive that they desperately needed. Killed all momentum there, and then to follow up on a second down 5-yard gain after the first down holding penalty, you get a stupid, senseless DJ Fluker unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for hitting Jalen Smith in his back unnecessarily. And so the O-line didn't stay clean at the most crucial juncture of the game, so they didn't get that done either. Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Cooper. I told them they could not allow Amari Cooper to wreck shop, and they still allowed Amari Cooper to wreck shop. 7 catches, over a buck and some change for Mr. Cooper in this football game. The Seahawks simply did not do a good enough job of taking away the Cowboys' best threat at the receiver position. And finally, damage control and kick his ass Seabass. Damage control. Look, I told you the Cowboys were going to run the football on you because your run defense wasn't good enough. We've seen teams run the football on these Seahawks all season long, so there wasn't any doubt in my mind that they were going to run the football. The question was, could you stop Zeke Elliott from hurting you in massive ways? For the most part, the answer to that is yes. But you still gave up over 140 yards rushing. You gave up a big run early in the game on a third down where he was able to get outside. I think it was a third down. May not have been a third down. Either way, it was a huge run, set up points. You gave up a big run late to Zeke Elliott. And after, the 2-yard touchdown run might have been the most back-breaking of them all. And that was only a 2-yard run. But after getting the stop on first down when him slipping and falling down, you got to find a way to keep him out of the end zone there. You got to find a way, and you just gave it up on the next play. I thought you gave up too many yards on the ground. You did not make Dak Prescott have to beat you. They were able to stay relatively balanced in the football game and then kick his ass, Seabass. Well, Seabass kicked the football's ass, and unfortunately the football kicked his ass as well as he missed the 58-yarder going into halftime, and then he strained his hamstring in the process of doing so. So that one is a negative as well. So you look at the Seahawks, they only completed one of the checklist items on the keys to victory. That's the same thing the Texans essentially did, and that's going to get you beat. Meanwhile, you look at the Cowboys, stop the run. They absolutely shut down the Seahawks rushing attack, which I knew they were going to do. They're one of the better run defenses in all of football, so that's no surprise there. Contain on Russ. They did a great job of doing that. Sans for one possession where Russ was able to use his legs on a couple of plays, including a touchdown run on a read option keeper. So for the most part, they did a really good job of containing him and keeping Russell Wilson in the pocket. North Dakota. Look, outside of the one bad pass to Noah Brown that he should have led him into the end zone and it would have been an easy touchdown grab, Dak Prescott was exceptional in this football game. Especially the third down run. That was an absolute backbreaker. If you're the Seahawks, you had him right where you wanted him. 3rd and 14. You're going to force him to kick a field goal. That's going to give you a chance to try to win this game on a touchdown, 21-20. Well, without your extra point, you're going to have to go for 2. It's going to give you a chance to win this game 22-20. Instead, you let him run a quarterback draw. I don't even know if that was a designed quarterback draw or if he just said, hell, it's open, I'm going to take it. He ran it, and he ended up picking up the first down to the 1 yard line, quarterback sneak. Dak was awesome in this game. And so you got North Dakota, not South Dakota, and that's what you needed, and you got it, and that helped you win this football game. If he's hungry, let Zeke eat. Well, the man ate. At the end of the game, he was so hungry, he was double fisting feeding himself as he killed this Seahawks defense to the tune of like 27 for $140 something. He was outstanding in this game. Had the touchdown late as well. He was awesome in this game, and I thought he would be against this Seahawks run defense. Spread the love. I thought the Cowboys did an awesome job. Dak Prescott, credit him for spreading the football around. A lot of guys got involved in this football game, catching the rock. And that I thought they had to do that in this game in order to have a chance to win. And there were a number of guys that touched it for the Cowboys in the passing game. You've got 8 different guys with receptions in this game. That's outstanding. That's the kind of ball distribution I was looking for going into the game, and they got it done. So kudos to the Cowboys for that. And finally, Redhead Jesus, no sins. Amen. You pretty much can say he did a good job of steering clear of making any F-ups in this game. Although I didn't like the decision to kick the 58-yarder, even though I know Brett Maher has made them this season. In a game where you know it's going to come down to field position, why even put yourself in that position? Punt the football there, pin them deep, make Seattle in this very lackluster one-dimensional offense have to drive the length of the field, something they've struggled to do in this game and really all season long for the most part when they're not having success running. Instead, you attempted a 58-yard field goal. It led, and he missed, of course, it led directly to the Seahawks moving the football down the field and getting a field goal of their own. Other than that, I thought Redhead Jesus didn't do anything to F it up for the Cowboys. So, and I really didn't think he was in too many precarious situations where you get to see him show his ass anyway. But nonetheless, Cowboys pretty much checked off every single box, and that's how you win. And so there you have it. Keys to victory. Cowboys pretty much checked off every box. Meanwhile, the Seahawks only checked off one, and that'll get you beat just about every single time. So I'll quickly go over the game. We start with the Cowboys. They did exactly what I thought they were going to do, minus some big plays. I thought they gave up too many big plays. That's something that could come back to haunt them moving forward. It doesn't matter which team they have to play, Rams or Saints. They can't give up those kind of big plays if they want to win. But I thought they came out and they did the thing that they probably set out to do most, which was stop the run. The Seahawks have to run the ball to be successful. Cowboys turned that faucet completely off. There was no running room at all in this football game, and I expected them to do that. I was surprised that Russell Wilson was able to complete some deep passes to, and that was a beautiful throw. We'll get to that when we get to the Seahawks and Russell Wilson. But they had the big ball to lock it early. They had the big ball to lock it late. They had the big ball to the Angry Bird on a 4th down that they had to have. But outside of those big plays and one big run by Rashad Penny, there wasn't much offense by the way of the Seahawks in this football game. So kudos to the Cowboys defensively for doing what I expected them to do anyway. But on the offensive side of the football, I thought that they did a good job of not turning it over until the late interception. And really, again, Dak needed to put more on that football. I think he just left it short. Great play by KJ Wright, too. I know it was a little contact early, but I don't care about that. I thought it was good no call. I thought Dak put his receiver in a position to allow that to be picked off. And great play by KJ Wright. Got to give him credit for making that play on a poorly thrown football. But outside of that, Dak was outstanding. The run game was outstanding. They spread the football around. Blake Jarwin had some catches in this game. When the ball's in the sky and your QB needs a guy, it's somebody. Was outstanding in this game. 7 for $1 and some change. Like I said, Zeke Elliott was outstanding. Tavon Austin was phenomenal on punt returns. He gave you a lift. It's a shame that holding penalty called back the touchdown that he had earlier in the game. Still gave you another nice return later on in the game. He was outstanding, and I figured he'd be a guy that would be able to give you something, especially watching the Seahawks special teams woes a week ago. I thought Tavon Austin could be an X factor in this game, and he was. So really all 3 phases of the game. You had one missed field goal by Maher again, but that was a 58-yarder. I don't think that Jason Garrett should have put him in the position and kicked that, especially in a game like this where field position is going to play a big part. If you're playing the Rams or the Saints, yeah, you go ahead and kick that field goal. Why? Because you're going to need to score points. And any opportunity you get to score, you're going to need it. Seattle wasn't going to score a bunch of points, so don't put yourself in a position where if you miss this field goal, I didn't think the risk was worth the reward. You miss this field goal, the Seahawks could potentially get a touchdown off of that great field position, whereas if you make the field goal, yeah, it's 3 points, that's great. But again, I didn't think the reward was worth the risk, and it backfired, but it didn't backfire as bad as it could have. And again, kudos to the Cowboys defensively for not giving up 7 after that, only giving up a field goal. But outside of that, the Cowboys were outstanding. Cooper was outstanding after the catch, as he's been all season long. He was tremendous after the catch. And you just look at this Cowboys football team, and I really feel like if somehow the Eagles can pull off an upset, and I don't see it happening, but if somehow the Eagles could pull off the upset over the Bears, and they get to go to Los Angeles, they can win that football game. I don't think they're going to beat the Saints if they have to go to New Orleans next week. I don't see them going to the Superdome. What they did the first time, I saw it as a possibility. I didn't think they were going to do it, but they did it. It was impressive, but that was in Dallas. In New Orleans is a totally different animal. I just don't see them being able to duplicate what they did the first time. I'm telling you right now, though, if they get the Rams, they're going to beat the Rams. They will go to L.A. and win. And so if you're a Cowboys fan, you should be praying that somehow the Eagles come out on top versus the Bears tomorrow afternoon, because if they can get it done and you go to Los Angeles next Saturday night, you're going to be playing in the NFC Championship game. I really believe that from the bottom of my heart. If you're Seattle, what a season first and foremost for the Seahawks. No one expected them to even be here. All right, let's make that. Now, again, there are no moral victories. You set out to win the Super Bowl every single year, and you guys made it to the postseason in a season where a lot of people thought you were going to be rebuilding, including me. I'm guilty as charged. So the fact that you're even here at 10-6 and having a shot in the postseason was remarkable in itself. That being said, you were here, you had an opportunity, and look, at the end of the day, you were too one-dimensional to win against a team like Dallas. Plain and simple, end of discussion. You won in week 3 against these Cowboys because they hadn't found their identity yet. They weren't good enough defensively like they are now, and offensively, they didn't have Amari Cooper then. They're a totally different team now. You weren't going to win this football game just running a football, which is what you've essentially done this season, is bludgeon teams to death with the run game and then Russell Wilson over the top, play action fake off the run. It's been a great formula for you, but it wasn't going to work. Yet, somehow, Russell Wilson was able to drive the football down the field, make some big plays. Kudos to him. Russell Wilson's so good. He's such a winner. I love that guy. And I'm going to tell you this much. They didn't give him enough opportunities to throw the football in this game. There were a couple of plays that just rubbed me the wrong way in today's game, and I just said to myself, this is some bullshit. All right, one of them, and I get it, it's 3rd and 14. You're probably not going to pick up a first down. I get it. But shit, to dump it down to Nick Van Nett in the flats with no hope of picking up anything more than 5 yards. It's not like you're attempting a field goal here. You're at right around midfield or so. It's 3rd and 14. What are you doing? You can't call a play where it's, hey, let's dump it down to Nick Van Nett. I'd much rather you take a shot down the field. You might, hell, Chidobe Awuzie only looked back for the ball one time, and the one time he looked back for it, it was a catch by Tyler Lockett on the sideline. He was face guarding all night. If you just throw it up, maybe you get a PI. Maybe you get a PI. But throwing it out in the flat, and that's reflective of play calling. That's trash. There was a 3rd and 7. They ran a gun run. Now, they were going to go for it on 4th down. That's why they did that. But that's trash. They're treating Russell Wilson like he's a rookie quarterback that they don't trust. They're treating him like he's Lamar Jackson. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Should have been a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback. Let him throw the rock. And I thought he was doing a really good job of throwing it tonight. That throw on the sideline to Lockett with pressure in his face, with DeMarcus Lawrence screaming down his throat. Come on, man. Let the man throw the foot. That 4th down throw to the Angry Bird with the game on the line. You don't complete that, the game is over. That throw, that was a thing of beauty. Picturesque. Let the man throw the goddamn football. You're not running that shit tonight. Anybody could have told you that. I told you that last week. You won't running that shit this week. Let him throw it. This should have been a game where Russell Wilson had 40 passing attempts. 45. You weren't going to win running the football. You were banging your head up against a brick wall, and for some reason, you thought that insanity was going to work tonight. We're just going to keep pounding it, and we're going to break one. No, you're not. They're not giving it up. The Bears aren't giving it up on the ground. The Eagles aren't giving it up on the ground. The Cowboys aren't giving it up on the ground. Face it, you're not going to run the football against those teams. And yet, for some reason tonight, you were hell-bent on just first down, bang my head up against the wall, get 2. Second down, bang my head up against the wall, get 1. 3rd and 7. How many times were you in 3rd and 7 or longer tonight? Because you decided to run it on first down, run it on second down. There was a possession in this game, the first possession the Seahawks scored on, as a matter of fact. You came out, play action fake, boom, lock it for about 35. Play action fake after that, no, matter of fact, it was play action fake, boom, pass to Dixon. All right? Dennis and Dixon. All right? After that, boom, play action fake on the very next play, break to Tyler Lockett. You're inside the goddamn 10-yard line just like that. Let them throw the football. They're keying in on run. Yet, for the remainder of the game, everything was run, first down, run, second down, run, first down, run, second down, 3rd and long. I didn't like the game plan. When he threw it tonight, he was effective. He didn't get enough opportunities. I hate when teams run it first down, run it second down, and then ask their quarterback to bail them out in 3rd and long. That sucks. It really does. And that's unfortunate that they didn't trust Russell Wilson enough to just let it loose tonight, because that was the only way you were going to win, especially with no Janikowski. And that's unfortunate, too, because that really hurt them in some situations where, they may have been able to play for a field goal. They knew they were kind of in a bind. You were in a situation where you cross midfield, and you normally you're thinking, your thought process is, hey, if we could just get it to the 35, maybe even the 37, Seabass can knock home a 54-yarder. You are now in a position where you get past midfield and you're like, either we score a touchdown or we're screwed. It's 4-down territory essentially. So it kind of altered their game planning to an extent, but I wasn't in love with the play calling, especially on a night where you just couldn't run it. You could not run it. You needed to turn Russell Wilson loose. As for the defense, I thought the defense, for as good as they could be, and as the way they're constructed and with some of the injuries that they sustained in this game, I thought they did a good enough job to give them a chance to win. I mean, I hate to see Zeke Elliott busting you up for a ball 40, but that's what you've done this season. You've given up yards on the ground. So that wasn't a surprise. The first game that you played the Cowboys, Zeke Elliott went well over 100, and he only had like 14 or 16 carries in that game. So I knew he was going to run roughshod over you. But what I thought you could do a better job of was in the pass game, maybe getting after Dak Prescott. I thought you'd be able to fluster him a little bit more, maybe force him into an errant throw or two. That didn't really happen tonight. I think you only sacked him once, if I'm not mistaken. That was the Frank Clark sack. I don't think you had another one the entire game. He didn't really look uncomfortable to me. I thought Dak was pretty comfortable for the majority of the night. I thought you could do a better job at taking away Amari Cooper, maybe making somebody else beat you. If Cole Beasley wanted to have a field day, or if they thought Michael Gallup was going to be a good matchup for him, knock yourself out. But it couldn't be Cooper, and it was Cooper still. So that was pretty disappointing. But at the end of the day, it came down to you having an opportunity to keep this within one score. At 20-14, you had a chance. 3rd and 14, game was right there. The Cowboys either ran a draw, QB draw, or Dak took it upon himself to run it. Either way, that was a give-up play. That was, hey, let's get 7 or 8. Let's run the clock down, or force the Seahawks to use their final timeout, or run it down to the 2-minute warning, kick this field goal, go up 6, and trust that the defense can get one more stop and win the game. That's what the Cowboys were saying with a quarterback draw on 3rd and 14, or Dak just tucking it and running. Either way, they decided that it was a smart idea, or Dak decided it was a smart idea to run it on 3rd and 14, and you couldn't get the stop when you needed it most. And so for that, you deserve to lose the football game. For as good as you played, and the big KJ Wright play to keep you alive there, and all the things that you did throughout the game, there was a nice stop on a 3-and-out when you had them pinned. Great special teams play to bat the ball back in bounds, and you got the stop, and you got the offense some great field position, and they were able to score off of that. All of that was excellent. You kept them in the game, especially with no Seabass, but when they needed you most, you didn't come through, and that's unfortunate, but hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Anyway, the Allen Hurns injury was absolutely gruesome. He definitely broke his ankle. No doubt about that. Thoughts and prayers go out to him. That was absolutely grotesque, but he wasn't going to be that big of a part of their game plan. But you never want to see a guy get injured that way. That was disgusting. Anyway, let's get to your comments. And Cowboys advance with the 24-22 victory. And I'm telling you right now, if they get a date with the Rams in the divisional round, they're going to win that football game. If they have to play the Saints, I don't give them the edge there. Storm says, the one goddamn time I need the Seahawks to win a playoff game, they lose, it's going to be Bears-Cowboys in the NFC Championship game, because screw you Raiders fans, screw Coop as well. DMV fan 123 says, hope this eats at Dan Snyder. Reese says, Happy New Year, Lou. It's been a minute. It has. Happy New Year to you and yours as well. Tyler Rodriguez says, game shouldn't have been close at all. It easily could have been a lopsided Cowboys win, but give the Seahawks credit. They made some plays. I didn't think the Cowboys would give up as many because really, if you want to be honest, the Seahawks and their big plays kept them in this game. You take away the big plays to Tyler Lockett and to Doug Baldwin and the stop by the defense that cut the field in half for the Seahawks and gave them an opportunity to score their only touchdown before the last one at the end of the game. This could have easily been a rout, but the Cowboys gave up big plays, and that was shocking to me. I got Munson says, Troy mentioned it several times. Seattle relied on that run game way too much. Got to put the ball in your franchise quarterback's hands. Look, I totally agree with that assessment. I was disappointed because I knew going into the game they weren't going to be able to run. That was one of my keys to the game, was that they had to run the football, but really they had to rely on Russell Wilson. I said that on the video, and I knew that because how I watched them play all season long, they're bullheaded. They were going to try to force a square peg in a round hole. They were going to try to run the football. And they were hoping, in their minds, they were hoping that we would run, and eventually we would pop one. It didn't happen, unless you want to call the Rashad Penny 20, 25-yard run, popping one. They weren't going to have much success consistently. They want to get 5, 8, 2, 1, 7, 6, 5, 8, 22, 9, 2, 1, 1, 8, 7, 1, 6, 2, 2, 29. That's how they want to run the football. They weren't going to do that tonight. It wasn't going to be a steady diet of 4s and 5s and 6s and 7s. It's going to be a steady diet of 1s and 2s. -5, -7. You're not going to win like that. You got to throw the football. 20th Mike says, was that an onside kick or a bounce kick? What was that? That was a drop kick. And he tried the onside kick. I don't understand why he didn't just practice putting it on the tee and trying to kick it the traditional way. That was trash. And I don't know what he was trying to do there. He got way too much of the football. And with drop kicks, it's just hard because you got to kick it at a certain point or you're not going to be able to kick it. So it was going to be tough anyway. He was put in a tough position. Buffalo pregame says, it's the Sports Fury conspiracy. Those dudes, Bears, Cowboys fans, boom, playoff wins. We're going to see. The Bears got to hold up their end of the bargain. Jarrett Coleman says, man, Dallas came to stop that run, and that's what they did. Too bad I'm a diehard Redskins fan, so I can't give them too much credit, LOL, but good damn game. Reese says, have you heard the Bruce Arians news? Yep, I heard about it, and it's funny because Arians, for the longest time, said the only job he would consider taking is the Cleveland job. He wanted to coach Baker Mayfield. Well, the Browns aren't interested in him, and now all of a sudden he's interested in the Tampa job. I don't really know what to make of that. He's not in a great health position. I'm going to talk about that on my podcast anyway. So, Chuck Sharp says, great day of football. Hopefully we get more tomorrow. I agree. First game wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but the second game definitely lived up to what I thought it would. Netzel's Toy says, why not let Russ take over the game after 3 quarters of nothing on the ground? I don't know, man. I honestly would have allowed him to take over the game midway through the third quarter after I realized the run game just wasn't hitting tonight. You know, at some point, you got to understand that you're not going to run the football tonight. At some point, you have to resign to the fact you're just not having the success that you are accustomed to, and you got to do something different, and they didn't do it. Buffalo pregame says, it's safe to say Jason Garrett's job is safe, right? His job was safe after they won the division. He's not going anywhere. Chuck Sharp says, do you see Dallas winning in L.A. or New Orleans? I already answered that question. I got Munson says, truth be told, Dallas deserved to move on. Dak in that scramble on third down was clearly the play of the game. Clutch as hell. Got to give it to him. Not much more needs to be said than that. Honestly, Matthew Lynch says, win or loss, Jason Garrett's high school pass scheme will limit this team. You may be right, but with Cooper catching curl routes and then breaking a tackle, or for some reason, I don't understand why people continuously go inside when Cooper catches a curl route and allows him to turn outside and get up the field. Either way, you can call it high school offensive passing scheme all you want. With Cooper finding ways to go over 100 yards, they're going to be tough to stop. Marvelous Track says, which team does the Rams have a better chance to beat, Bears or the Cowboys? I already told you, you have a much better chance to me of beating the Bears because they don't have the offense that's going to scare you. I'm not saying that the Cowboys do either, but I think the Cowboys could be a little bit more scary than the Chicago Bears. Now, defensively, the Bears may be a little bit better than the Cowboys, but I think the Cowboys have what it takes to go into L.A. and win. I'm not sure that the Bears, because even when they beat the Rams, how many points did they score in that game? What, 14, 16, something like that? It wasn't impressive, and Trubisky threw 3 interceptions in that game. I think that if I'm the Rams, I'd much rather face the Bears than the Cowboys, but that's just me. Buffalo Pregame says, are you liking Dak Prescott more? You were down on him earlier this year. How about now? I still think that Dak Prescott has a long way to go, but he has played better since they got Amari Cooper. I will give him credit on that. I think he has to use his legs more like he did in his rookie season. There's always this black quarterback complex that exists with black quarterbacks where they feel like they got to prove to everyone that they can throw from the pocket and they stop using their legs as an asset. Eventually, I think Lamar Jackson will succumb to that as well. I hope not, but generally with these black quarterbacks, you know, they come in the league and they want to do anything that they have to help their team win, which usually includes running the football as much as they have to. And then eventually, as time passes on, they want to prove to everyone that they can throw from the pocket and they can be pocket passers. And it takes away from what makes them the best quarterback they can possibly be. I think Prescott needs to use his legs more. He did that tonight. He's done that more so in the second part of the season. And you're seeing him play much better because of it. So, yeah, I think he's gaining more respect from me in that regard, but I still think he's got a ways to go. Chuck Sharp says, Dak Prescott has played his best ball in the playoffs. He played well tonight. Gregory Lightbody says, I'm sick to my stomach. What are the Skins doing wrong? A lot. Tyler Rodriguez says, still salty about that interception. Yeah, that was all on Dak. Got to throw that football a little bit further into the end zone. That would have been an easy touchdown there. The defender, KJ Wright, on the play was beaten there. You just got to lay that out and allow Noah Brown to go run under that football. Michael Thompson says, Fluker is still allergic to blocking people in the back. Thank God he is no longer a Charger. He's not allergic to blocking people in the back. He did it on that play. He is keen and prone to blocking people in the back. He's a clown, too. I saw him get pumped up after a run for like a 6-yard run. He got up all hyped up and hitting people after the play. He's a clown. He's an idiot. Mr. TNA 2005. The winner was decided on the running game today. It was clear that it would. The Seahawks could not do that, and they lost, plain and simple. Exactly. Reed says, I know Bruce Arians' name, but I'm obviously not a Cardinals fan. I haven't studied it. What would he bring to the team? Yeah, I have to listen to the podcast. Mr. TNA says, Lou, to me, the Cowboys are a favorite against the Rams. I feel the same way. The match in L.A. will be a home game for the boys. I agree with that as well. With 90% of the Cowboys fans, it won't be that egregious, okay? But it will be 50-50 at best for the Cowboys. At worst for them, it's a 60-40 split. Either way, they're going to be well represented in L.A. if, in fact, that is the game. Remember, if the Bears take care of business, then the Cowboys will be going to New Orleans to take on the Saints, where they will not have a major presence in that stadium, versus going to L.A., where they will be able to take over that stadium to a certain degree. He also says, Cowboys fans, to me, Dallas is a worse opponent for the Rams. I wholeheartedly agree, and I said that already earlier. Blackbird Blitz says, I know my Falcons were trash, but I love car crashes, train wrecks, and wheels coming off, bandwagons. Best thing about not making the playoffs is watching the playoffs. Hashtag the failings. I feel you, bro. Even though I would love my team to be in there and to be sweating out a game at the end, I know what you're saying. Because you've been to the Super Bowl in the last 3 years and you've been to the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years, I don't really want to hear from you in that regard because you can take a year off. You've been through the playoffs and the ups and the downs and on pins and needles. My team doesn't make the playoffs, so I'm dying for playoff action, so I can't relate to you there. But I understand what you're saying. Lurtz of Orthanic says, can ESPN hire you to replace Booker? He's painful to listen to. I actually think Booker does a good job. I think the other two are the ones that are painful to listen to be honest with you. Captain Spartan says, why don't the Seahawks use Penny more? He's just been injured, and they trust Chris Carson more. And they got a nice little rotation there with Mike Davis and Penny and Chris Carson. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. Carson was outstanding for them this year. Penny had an opportunity to really get more carries, and he was starting to hit that ascension, and then he got injured. And that's been the problem with Rashard Penny this year. He just hasn't been healthy. Buffalo Pregame says, I agree. Try to get a job on ESPN. It would be awesome if competent fans could be NFL analysts. Reese says, if the Saints don't go to the Super Bowl, I'm assuming he says, and the Patriots also don't go, this will be my favorite Super Bowl in a long time. Leonard Kirby says, what up, Leonard? He says, keeps it real. Louie T keeps it real. I follow him and agree with his analysis most of the time. Exceptional sports talk analyst. I appreciate that, Leonard, man. Always enjoy talking to you on Twitter as well. Mr. TNA says, Russell Wilson is so fun to watch. Isn't he? I just felt like he didn't get enough opportunities tonight. I was so disappointed in the Seahawks for pretty much muzzling this guy for the vast majority of this game. When he threw it tonight, it was fun to watch. That throw to the Angry Bird, Doug Baldwin on 4th down. Come on, man. The throw to Lockett on the sidelines with Lawrence basically inside his jersey. Are you kidding me? Like, he was outstanding tonight when he got an opportunity, and he just didn't get enough chances, to be honest. Reese says, thoughts go out to Allen Hurns. That was gruesome. I second that. Amen. That was pretty gruesome indeed. Double A says, I feel bad for Allen Hurns. Hope the Eagles win tomorrow. Mr. TNA says that Cowboys defense can win even in New Orleans. People are underrating them when they are considered heavy underdogs. I'm not underrating them. They will have a chance in New Orleans. I just don't think they're going to win. They're not going to get the same New Orleans team that played scared on a Thursday night in week 13. I think wholeheartedly that if they go to New Orleans, you're going to get a different New Orleans Saints team that will be refreshed, recharged, that will take a look at what the Cowboys did the first time around. They will make the necessary adjustments. It's a different environment. I just like the Saints better at home than on the road. Meanwhile, the Cowboys will have a shot. They will have a shot in New Orleans if it comes to that. Again, tomorrow's outcomes will decide where the Cowboys go. But I just think they got a much better shot at beating the Rams, to be honest. Buffalo Pregame says, what's up with all the old Geico commercials? I feel like it's 2010. They're doing this whole best of Geico commercials thing. I actually enjoy it because all the Geico commercials are hilarious anyway. CF Coaster says, that was the worst onside kick since I've seen since Boswell's. His was pretty pathetic. But that one was too easy. Boswell's was just pathetic. That one was just a guy out of his element. He kicked it too far. We've seen guys kick it too far on onside kicks before. Boswell's was a joke, though. That was ridiculous. Mr. TNA says, the Browns need to keep Greg Williams. Hiring someone would be stupid. I get it. I'm going to talk about that on my podcast. They're dumb if they don't retain Greg Williams. It's as simple as that. Captain Spartan says, what can you tell me about Torian Gray, your Redskins DB coach? He is outstanding. That's all I need to say. I told you when Sean McVay got the job in L.A. that he was going to tear shit up because he was outstanding. I'm telling you the same thing about Torian Gray. If he gets a job to be somebody's DC, the guy is going to tear it up. He reminds me so much of Chris Richard in that regard. He's very fiery, gets guys motivated, but he's a hell of a teacher. And that's the thing I think that he does best is he teaches guys the fundamentals and teaches guys how to play the game the right way. as a defensive backs coach. Mr. TNA says, Colts will play in the AFC Championship. I do not need to say more. We will see about that. They've got the Chiefs in front of them. It's a very winnable game. I don't think they're going to win it, but we'll see. Michael Vick. Reese says, Michael Vick became a much better passer with age. He truly reinvented himself. You can do that. You can do that. And at some point, you have to become a better pocket passer. I just think you don't negate what makes you the best possible player you can be by just simply trying to prove people wrong. Robert Griffin III, that was his downfall in Washington, is he didn't want to run the football anymore. His dad told him, you show me a running quarterback, I show you a loser. And so he went and told Mike Shanahan and all the other coaching members on the offensive side, I'm not running, all these plays, and I want to sit in the pocket and I want to throw. And he wasn't ready for that yet. He needed to continue to use his legs, and he got humbled. And sometimes, I think Lamar Jackson can develop as a passer, but he needs to continue to run because that's what makes him Lamar Jackson. Eventually, he'll get better as a passer. That's what you want to assume. Colin Kaepernick, we assumed he would get better as a passer. He never really did, but he never stopped running either, and that's what kept him viable in this league. And if not for being blacklisted and blackballed, he'd still be in the league right now. Mr. TNA says, if you could take one player from the boys' defense to play for your Skins, who would you choose? Smith, Lawrence, or Leighton Vander Esch? It'd be between Smith or Leighton Vander Esch. I like DeMarcus Lawrence, and he'd be a big help to our football team, but you give me that kind of speed at linebacker, it just changes things. I think Lawrence isn't dissimilar from, some of the guys we have on our team, even though Lawrence probably wins a little bit more than anybody we have on our team. Somehow Ryan Kerrigan ends up with more sacks than Lawrence every year, it seems like, except for last year. Kerrigan had 13 sacks this year. I think Lawrence jumped out to like 7.5 sacks and only ended up with like 9.5 or 10, something like that this year. Whereas Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch have totally changed the way the Cowboys play defense. I definitely take one of those two. Maybe Vander Esch because he's better in pass coverage than Jalen Smith. Vander Esch just does a little bit more, so it'd probably be him. Mr. TNA says, Jaguars need to give their 2019 draft for Carson Wentz. How he might be forced to do it if Foles wins another playoff game. They're not getting rid of Carson Wentz. You can forget about that. As much as they would love to keep Foles is going to cash in this offseason. Unless he's comfortable being the backup quarterback. If he wants to start again in this league, he'll have to go elsewhere to do it. Foles is much older. Carson Wentz has a much bigger upside. There's no way they're getting rid of Carson Wentz. Reese says, Booger's my guy. I'm happy for him. I think he's doing great. I agree. Reese says, when does the podcast drop? I'm going to do that. This week has been a whirlwind, just trying to get back into the swing of things. As soon as I can get it done, you guys will know. If you're following me on my podcast Twitter feed, you'll know exactly when it drops. If you've subscribed to me on Stitcher or if you've subscribed to me on iTunes or any of the other platforms, then you'll know exactly when it drops. But if you really want to know when it drops, just follow me on my LTN Pod Twitter feed. At LTN Pod is the Twitter handle, and every time a podcast drops, I immediately post it up there so you will know. So if you're looking for it, you'll know. But it should be out. If not in the next 24 hours, definitely in the next 48 hours for sure. What up, Lightly Phenomenon? Cody _1804 says, do the Pats get back to the Super Bowl this year? I don't think so. I do not think so, and I think they're going to have a bad matchup for them either way because they're going to have to play the winner of the Ravens and the Chargers. I think it's a bad matchup for them either way. Both of those teams can get after it defensively, which is going to really hinder the Patriots. But we'll see. If they win that game, they're back in the AFC Championship game. All bets are off. And I like the matchup against the two teams that they would have to play in the championship game, the Chiefs and the Colts. So they could easily be back in the Super Bowl if we're not careful. Mr. TNA says, you need to do some stuff with Shago Daddy or Norb Cam. Anything's possible in the future. Sammy J12 says, can't wait to see Pat prove some people wrong. We'll see if they're able to do that or not. Reese says Green Bay is interviewing everybody and their brother. Callie says off topic, but when you starting the draft content, love your videos. I'm gonna try to start it a little bit earlier this year than normal. I want to get a head start on the draft process, get more prospects done. I want to be a little bit more thorough in my assessment of these draftees. So I'm hoping to get that done a little bit sooner. So we'll see what happens. Lightly Phenomenon says that game was crazy, bro. It was, especially the end, because again, I thought the Cowboys were going to win this game 24-14 after the last touchdown, and to give up the big play and ultimately give up the touchdown to cut it to 2. It made the game a lot more intriguing than it needed to be down the stretch. But it was a really solid football game. CF Coaster says predictions for tomorrow's games. I already gave you my predictions. Go watch my predictions and keys to the game videos that I've done already. I've given you the winners for every single game. I'm 2 for 2 today. I fully expect to be 2 for 2 tomorrow, and I expect to be 4 for 4 when this weekend is done. So you want to know who I picked? Go check out those videos individually that I have done throughout the course of the week. So with no more comments, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Like I said before, the postseason is always fun. This is by far and away the most intriguing postseason we've had in quite some time because it's not the same old, same old. At least we don't think it's going to be. We'll see. The Patriots could emerge from all the wreckage as the representative in the AFC when it's all said and done. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be new blood in both sides of the bracket, and it's going to be fun to watch either way you slice it. So really looking forward to tomorrow's games. Should be a lot of fun. I'm your man, Louie T. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage. It could be. Cowboys get it done 24-22 over the Seattle Seahawks, advance to the divisional round of the postseason. Well, they'll either be on the road against the Los Angeles Rams or the New Orleans Saints. We'll see. The outcome of Bears-Eagles will determine where these Cowboys will end up in the divisional round. I'm your man, Louie T. Signing off. I thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you like this video, share it. Make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. And make sure you check out the Louie T Network podcast. New episode will be up within the next 24 to 48 hours. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Should be some more great action. I'll be live directly after the first game, Chargers at Ravens. We'll chop it up, break that one down, and then we'll get to the nightcap, the Eagles at Bears. I'll see you then. Have a good one.
Louie T Network.